What's up, everybody? Welcome into another episode of the Next Path podcast. I'm Phil Perry. Today we have one of my favorite guests in the history of this very podcast. He is now a multi-time guest. It is Don Brown, defense coordinator of the Arizona Wildcats. Just tremendous in terms of his insight, in terms of how he coaches on the defensive side of the ball, in terms of everything that he tells us about all of his guys that are now on this Patriots roster. And yes, there are several. It is Cam McGrone, who was just drafted in the 5th round by the Patriots this year. It's Josh Uche, and it's Chase Winovich. So he is the guy to talk to if we want to learn about any of these guys. We talked to him last year about Uche and about all the different ways they use Josh Uche and how he might fit in this Patriots defense in a scheme that allows its linebackers to be used in such a versatile fashion. And now this time around, we got a chance to dive deep on Cam McGrone, who tore his ACL last year. Even Bill Belichick, he told us that McGrone may not be ready to contribute in 2021 because of the injury he suffered last year, but an intriguing prospect nonetheless for down the line. Number one, he comes in at the 236, 237 pound range. That's a little bit light by Patriots standards. It's not out of the question. We've seen them draft a handful of smaller linebackers, especially late in drafts. Landon Roberts is one of the first that come to mind. But typically in that off the ball position, they want players who are big, who can hold up against the run. I mean, Juwan Bentley played at times at 260 pounds. Gerard Mayo was over 240. Brandon Spikes was 250 pounds. I mean, that's usually what they're looking for. Dante Hightower, when he came out of Alabama, he was 260 plus. And we know he spent a lot of his time here with the Patriots off the line of scrimmage. So they like those big, beefy off the ball linebackers. That's really not McGrone. You're going to hear Don Brown talk about the 40 times that the Michigan Wolverines had clocked McGrone running, and it's going to blow your mind because, number one, just to envision a guy, even if he's a little small by Patriots standards, a guy his size running that fast is special. And you can see why he was a 5-star recruit coming out of college. He ends up going to Michigan, contributes a bunch in 2019, was on his way to a big season in 2020 before the injury. So there is a lot to get to there with Cam McGrone from Don Brown. I don't know why I continue to prattle on here because you're here for Don Brown. Let's be honest. So let's talk to Don Brown about what's going on in Arizona, about solving problems with aggression.
Solve your problems with aggression, okay? Sit there and go, we're going to read this poll. We're going to run up there. That. Let's go.
But also, of course, about these Michigan linebackers and edge defenders that are now with the Patriots and primarily 5th round pick Cam McGrone. So let's get right to it with our interview with Don Brown. All right, very excited now to have with us on Next Pat's Don Brown. 2 times in as many years we've had Don Brown on the Next Pat's podcast. I think we could call you a friend of the podcast now. Don, thanks so much for being with us.
All right, big guy. How we doing today? Everything good?
We're doing great. I don't know if we're doing as well as you in terms of the temperature front, and that's where we have to start this thing because you are a New England guy through and through. We have a lot of New England listeners. What is it like being in Arizona this time of year?
118 2 days ago. 118 2 days ago.
I'm not sure if that's exactly where you want to be, but come November, December, you're going to be living the life and we're going to be struggling out here.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, it's getting used to. It's interesting, and they give you the, hey coach, there's no humidity. It's still hot, So, but I'm getting used to it and settling in. And most of the days, you're up in the high 90s, but that's kind of, normalcy around here. So making the adjustment, getting used to it, and enjoying coaching my guys for sure.
Yeah, it's a dry heat, but it's still heat. And I do want to ask you about how things are going at Arizona. You're installing your defense. I mean, last time we talked to you, it was great because you told us, hey, the Patriots, and that's who we're covering here full time. The Patriots are a team I'm looking at every offseason to see what Bill is doing with that defense and how we might be able to implement some things. So when we watch Arizona football this year, we watch that defensive side of the ball, will we see any Patriot influences done?
Always Coach Belichick's expertise is evaluated, but if I tell you, then I got to take you out. So I can't tell you.
Okay, duly noted. We want to have you back on a third time eventually here, Don. So we won't push the envelope too far there. But one thing I do want to ask you about, because just to get inside your head in terms of your overall coaching philosophy, one phrase that I've seen associated with you, and that I'm sure some of our listeners have seen as well, is solve your problems with aggression. Tell us what solve your problems with aggression means to you.
Well, I've kind of been the full gamut, or the full Monty, or whatever you want to call it, from a defensive perspective. And the one thing that I believe in firmly is trying to, make sure that the quarterbacks feel you in the college game, or there's a potential that they're going to have to feel us on each and every play. So a lot of the things that we do from a schematic standpoint is either, pressure related or shows pressure, and not necessarily come, but, anytime that we're in a situation, we want to make sure that we're playing the game on the balls of our feet and not playing on our heels. That's for sure.
And how have your new players taken to that message? Do you feel like, they're embracing that? Because to me, that feels like a player friendly message. I know you have the ability to coach hard, but to be allowed to play fast and to be encouraged to play fast and play aggressive, I would think is something that as a player, they would love.
Well, you just took the words out of my mouth, because that's obviously our guys have bought into it really quickly. And I'm really amazed. We're still coming out of the pandemic. We're still kind of controlled to some degree, on the learning curve piece, because you're meeting, kind of like Zoomish, or you're meeting, in huge areas. We're also undergoing a major facelift in all our office spaces. So our meeting rooms are limited. So we're meeting in large group size. So I feel like I've got a good feel of what our guys want to do, and how they're reacting to us. And I'm really pleased with the direction that we're going. And we've let's just say we've made great use of the transfer portal in the last 5 months.
Well, hopefully that'll help. Love to hear the overall philosophy. Love to hear how things are going at Arizona in terms of what you're able to install now and how people are embracing it. But one of the other reasons we love to have you on here, Don, is that the Patriots have all kinds of guys that you've coached on the roster right now. And the one that we're most unfamiliar with is the guy they drafted in the 5th round of this year, Cam McGrone, linebacker from Michigan. What kind of player are the Patriots getting in Cam McGrone?
The guy loves football. Absolutely loves it. Took over the Mike linebacker position in the second game of the year in 2019. Had an outstanding season. He's 200 and I would say 38, 37 pounds. But, I know we had him running in a high 4.40. The guy can flat out run. The guy is a smart football player. And, I think he'll be a tremendous fit in Coach Belichick's system.
It's interesting you mentioned that he was playing that Mike position, and we talked to you a lot last year about Josh Uche, and love to ask you about him again a little bit later in the conversation. But did those guys have roles that had any sort of crossover, or are they two totally separate types of skill sets that we're thinking about when we're thinking about McGrone versus Uche?
I think when you talk about Cam McGrone, you're thinking about a bona fide inside linebacker type that has sideline to sideline ability and some blitz ability. When you're talking about Uche, his pass rush ability I mean, I just was did a cut up for a recruit, and he kind of reminded me of him. So we kind of reviewed some of Josh's, the things that we did with him. And he's really, a pass rush phenom. And that's really the role that we utilized him a lot. A guy that can rush the passer from the edge as a one of four rushers. Then he can get in on the pressure games as well and come from multiple spaces. And he can flat out run too. And now, what I see, it looks like he's up to around 250 pounds. That guy's best football, I believe, is still in front of him. And again, especially with with Coach Belichick, I think they'll obviously bring out the best in that young man.
Well, in this spring, and I know it's just shorts and t-shirts, but this spring it looked like Uche was shot out of a cannon. I mean, he looked like one of the fastest guys on the field at times when they were going 11 on 11, just getting up the field. So it'll be fun to watch him in training camp. With McGrone, Dom, there's got to be so much responsibility that goes with that Mike position, right? So what allowed you to feel like you had enough trust in him to put him there? And then it looks like he had all kinds of success, right, in 2019, as you mentioned. I mean, I was looking at the stats earlier. I think he had 13 tackles against Notre Dame, which we know how talented they are. So what gave you that trust in him that you needed to see him in the middle of the field?
Well, he was competing for that number one Mike position. And we had an injury, and it was between him and another player, and made the decision to go with him in the Wisconsin game. And he had one play on the goal line. They came out to run a quarterback, quarterback spread run to the right, and with a lead back in position. Well, he was covering the lead back, fell off the lead back and tackled the quarterback for no gain, and the ball was on the 3-yard line. It was that singular play just showed his quick start, and got to high rate of speed in a short period of time, and was able to make the play for no gain. So that was kind of a breaking out game for him, the Wisconsin game. It showed that he could handle, being the Mike backers with all the responsibilities that he has, checking the front guys and making sure that we're in the right package. If we're doing some of the movement things, making sure that that's getting done, setting the front to the tight end, handling his coverage checks, and playing in multiple 3 and 4 down fronts and making the proper checks. And our guys had a lot of confidence when he was in there, which just, obviously that's what you're looking for. Can the guy step in, be the Mike backer and take over, or does somebody else have to help him? And nobody had to help this guy. He was ready to go from the minute we made the move.
What's interesting about the fact that the Patriots went ahead and took him, Don, is that he is a little bit different than what they've had for years at that off the ball linebacker spot. Typically, they like these bigger guys, these 250-pound guys, and they don't really care, it seems at least, how fast they are. I mean, we've seen them draft guys that are, 5-second flat 40s, Brandon Spikes in the second round years and years ago, bigger body, play the run. And Cam seems like, a little bit lighter, much faster than some of the guys they've had. How much experience did he get in coverage when he was playing for you? And obviously none of these guys are finished products, as soon as they get to the NFL, but is that something that you feel like might help him when he's healthy eventually get on the field?
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right on. We played multiple coverages with him. And again, like I told you, I thought he did a great job of handling, he wasn't, we weren't blitzing him every down. And in fact, in some cases, he's got the tailback out of the backfield. In other cases, he's covering the tight end because we're bringing the outside linebacker or the Viper position. So, he had to play multiple man responsibilities, multiple zone responsibilities, and also be an edge rusher and understand his gap fits in 3 and 4 down fronts. The guy has a high football IQ, and his teammates all love this guy. So I really don't see any concerns. Obviously, had the ACL a little bit. So, he's recovering from that, and sure the Patriots will make good decisions with him as to when he's ready to go.
Yeah, I'm sure he has a lot of work ahead of him to come back from that ACL. What do you know about him as a worker, Don, as a student of the game? What can you tell us about Cam McGrone as a person? What kind of person are the Patriots getting in Cam off the field?
He's a pleasure to have in the room. He'll get after a teammate if he doesn't think that someone's paying attention in the room or messing up on assignments. But he's also a guy that's really beloved by his teammates. Really have no concerns as to him fitting in. And again, it all goes back to one issue. He loves football. So, I think him also having Josh Uche and Chase around him will certainly help him with any adjustment that has to be made.
Don, the last thing I have to ask you is, between you watching your guys, McGrone, Uche, Winovich, and new Arizona head coach Jedd Fisch, I feel like you probably got some pretty big Patriots fans in the building there. I know you've got your own games you guys have to worry about on Saturdays, but how much time will be carved out on Sundays for you two to be watching the New England Patriots?
Well, you find a way to watch those every Sunday for sure. And at least it's on in the room as you're kind of going through doing your deal, because Sunday's a long day. But, obviously there's no doubt about it. Patriots fan through and through, and will be until they put me 6 feet under the ground. So I'm all good.
Well, Don Brown, thanks so much for spending some time with us here on Next Pats to tell us about Cam McGrone, to tell us a little bit more about Josh Uche as we get ready to watch his second season, and tell us about how things are going there at Arizona. We really appreciate the time.
Thanks, Phil. Take care, bud.
Love having that guy on the podcast. Hopefully we can make this an annual tradition. He is a New Englander through and through. He has his vacation lined up just days away here. And so we appreciate him spending a little bit of time with us. They're wrapping up some camps there in Arizona. It's always go, go, go. That is the college football coaching lifestyle. If you're not recruiting, you're hosting camps. If you're not hosting camps, you're coaching up during spring ball. And if it's not spring ball, then you're getting ready for your season. So they are about to put the pedal to the metal, so to speak, when it comes to preparing for the 2021 season. They get a little bit of a break. Don Brown about to hit that break, so we appreciate him spending some time with us. Guys, that's going to do it for this edition of the Next Patch Podcast. Thanks so much for listening. Please rate, comment, send us a review on Apple Podcasts, leave a question in the review section, and I guarantee you we will get to it, whether it's about somebody in this rookie class, whether it's about something that we saw in minicamp that maybe we haven't covered here just yet. If it's about something that you're expecting to see or hoping to see or wondering if you're going to see in training camp, leave it for us there on Apple Podcasts in that review section. We will get to it, and hopefully we'll have a nice hefty little mailbag to get to in the coming weeks and months here leading into Patriots training camp. But again, that'll do it for this episode. Thanks so much for listening. Keep on listening to those Tom Curran's Patriots Talk podcasts. We know you're loving those, and we'll talk to you next time here on Next Pats.